Hey, Baruch Halevi, B here from B Halevi Coaching and Counseling. I want to share with you today a bit about my newest book, The Guy in the Glass, 6 Questions to See the Man You Were Meant to Be. Before we get rolling here, this book isn't just for men. It is for women to understand men, for sure. It is for anybody who wants to really understand what it means to be a man, especially at the midlife crossroads. That's where this book takes place, and it takes place in, of all places, a bar. That's right, a bar. And so we take place in a bar asking this guy, our protagonist, 6 simple, though not easy to answer questions. Why does it take place in a bar? Because, hey, man, that's where guys hang out, real guys, real dudes. I coach them. I am them. And I wanted it to take place in a setting that men got, the men understood. You know, out there in the world right now, there seem to be kind of 2 versions of men's work, men's groups. One, you got the manosphere, the toxic masculinity, which I hate that term, but it says it all. And then you have another space, which is more of the opposite extreme, kind of the faithosphere. And that's very religiosity. And what about us in the middle who don't want either of those extremes, who want real men having real conversations? Where do we go? Well, we go to The Guy in the Glass, 6 questions to see the man you were meant to be. And a man walks into the bar. That's right. So that's where this takes place. Got some great people on already. Got Patty Nog. I got Chad Cooper. Thanks for joining me. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram and a few other places. So wherever you are, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll try and respond to you as we navigate this. So it's always kind of an adventure trying to multitask here. Bottom line, we're talking today about The Guy in the Glass, 6 questions to see the man you're meant to be. A guy walks into a bar and he is asked pickup lines that he has used in a former version of himself, right? Not proud to say, I was that guy, you were that guy, or your sons, or your husband, or your father, or your brother were that guy. The hope is that we grow out of being that guy who lives at the surface, that guy who says shallow things and responds in a shallow way. Our man at the bar is at the 40 years mark of his life. It's not a hard and fast rule, but 40, midlife onwards, and he's going deeper. He wants to know who he is for the first time in his life, and so it takes place in a bar. I weave together fictional narrative with coaching stories, my journey, real stuff, so it's kind of a back and forth. It's a little bit of a crazy wild ride, but it's the wild ride I take you on. Chapter 1, what's your name? Look, it's the first question you have ever been asked. I do this with people. I use this as sort of my coaching curriculum, and people are shocked to really think about this question. I mean, you have answered it maybe every day of your life. Think about how many questions you have been asked and you have answered every single day of your life. This could be one of them. What's your name? So you would think, I would think, we have an answer for it. And you're going to tell me, well, I do have an answer. It's Patty, it's Chad, it's Ira, it's B. The question is, what does that really mean? I mean, what is your name? Is that your name? Is that your name? If I ask you your name and you tell me what says on your driver's license, that probably looks different than what you just shared with me. So which is it? Am I Baruch Halevi? Am I B? What about my birth certificate? Because it doesn't say either of those. It says Jason Perlman. I'm happy to tell you about that because I have a lot to say about names, having personally gone through it and the depth that really gets into, the existential crisis. Every time I walk into an effing Starbucks, I have an existential crisis. What's your name? They write it on the cup. And each and every time I can almost hear like a drum roll. What name am I going to give them? What am I grappling with? What are you grappling with? What are we grappling with? What is the guy at the bar grappling with? What's your name? Who am I? And that's the first question of this book. Guy. Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. Good. So our man is going on a journey in the bar, and he's being asked, and he's going to have to answer 6 questions. And the first one is, what's your name? And it is a tough question to answer. It's not tough if you. All right. I think we're back online, back in action. You can hear me now? Can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up. Good. So, what's your name is our topic for today. This guy at the bar is being asked these questions. And I use this with my people, with my men, to really begin the conversation, to unpack identity. Who are you? Right? Who are you? Who is the you that's showing up? Who is the you that's at the bar, that's at the table, that's in the relationship? Which version of you? Because those names represent different versions of ourselves. Again, if I am at Starbucks and I tell them I'm B, that's very different than my wife. She refuses to call me B. She says that's a letter, stupid. That's not a name. I'm not calling my husband by a letter. I like B. It's easier, but she won't call me B. She has my nicknames. Well, wait a minute. Nicknames. That's part of my name. To her, I don't even think she's ever said Baruch or B. She has called me by her pet names for me. Names convey relationship. That's the point. What's your name isn't just one thing, because you're not just one thing. And that's what the guy in the glass is all about. It's about going to the mirror, to the glass, and starting to see that man, that woman. I'm going to write gal in the glass. Don't worry, it's coming. But the guy in the glass at midlife is starting to question, wait a minute, who am I? And the name thing is just a pathway in. Because again, my wife has one relationship with me. My kids don't call me B or Baruch or Jason. I'll get back to that. They call me Abba. They call me Dad. And to them, that is a name. That is my name. I feel that as my name, as my identity. I just counseled a guy a couple of weeks ago whose child died. And we had a really beautiful conversation about his name, Dad. And what he said is, I may not have my child, a physical child, but I always have my child. I will always be a dad. It's my identity, it's who I am. That's a name. And now we're getting into it because it's power. When you know your name or your names, each one of those makes me feel powerful. I am an Abba. It is core to my identity. It's not the entirety of my identity, but it's core to my identity. It's essential to my identity. That is a name. And when we have that name, we can never have it taken away from us. Like this man in this bold stance and statement and his grief says, I will not let death take daddy away from me. I will always be their daddy. They will always be my children. Death cannot sever that. That is power. So sometimes names are the most powerful things, aspects of who we are. Sometimes they're incredibly stifling, incredibly imprisoning. I mean, think about names that hurt. Right back in the day, I was how do you say it today? Weight challenged? I don't know. I was fat. I was fat until about seventh, eighth, ninth grade, somewhere in there. I started to take my physical health seriously, became a bodybuilder, much to my kids' chagrin, underwear model in college. I know it's hard to believe. I was. And, but I was still fatty chicken patty back in the schoolyard playground in my head. I was trying to outrun that name. It hurt, right? Being called fatty and fatso and fat ass in that period of time. Kids on the playground are cruel. As an aside, they're still cruel. We like to pretend they're not. We like to pretend it's 2026. They're PC. They're not. I can tell you firsthand, having raised 4 kids, kids are just as cruel today as they were back in 1984, and they were in 1884, and they will be in the year 3000, and whole other conversation. But those hurtful nicknames that we heard 50 years ago, in my case, 40 some years ago, still can feel like a prison at times, still trigger in rare, weird ways at moments. And I have to stand guard against them. And those are just some of them, right? I remember being in college and a girl broke up with me and it was not pretty. And she attributed it to me being a Jew. And she called me a kike. And it was like, wow. I mean, I knew of that term in theory, but to kind of have it used against me was just this sort of, I don't know, this reductionistic, just reduced me. It made me just feel so small, and I can hear it still to this day. You have your versions of this. Names are not nothing, right? Names are quite something. Names can become a container, and we grow to the size of them. They can become a prison cell in which we feel trapped, or they can be a pathway of liberation. What's your name? You don't have a name. That's the point. You have names. Again, you have your name that you throw out at the cocktail party. You have your legal name. My legal name is Baruch Halevi, but it hasn't always been. Let me tell you the story about my name change. I don't know if I've ever really talked about this, certainly not on social media. When I was 27, got married to Ariella, and we were both at these different crossroads in our lives. And I was becoming very entrenched in my Jewish identity. I had grown up Jewish, always knew I was a Jew, but it was cultural. It wasn't religious, certainly wasn't spiritual. And the Judaism that I had adopted and set out to live and teach, I became a rabbi eventually, was very different than the one I grew up with. And I really wanted to signify that in my name. I also was moving to Israel at the time. I lived in Israel 3 different times. This was my second time I was moving to Israel. And there's no J sound in Hebrew. Jason was my birth name. It didn't have, it felt weird when Israelis were saying it. And my Hebrew name was already Baruch. I would have changed it. It's sort of an old man's name. It's not the easiest name, but it's the one I was given. And so I ended up as I decided I was going to take my Hebrew name Baruch. We were going to move to Israel. We were going to live there. No problem. We ended up moving back to America. And then I had to drag the ch with me back to America. And that's been brutal. Nonetheless, I decided, you know what? I wanted to really live out loud with my Jewish identity. It to me was sort of my version of Black power. It was my Jewish power. Because another piece of that was that when my great-grandfather came over from Poland to America, he anglicized his name. This is a very typical story from Danica, or it's Yuda. It's Yuda and Danica. My great-grandfather came over. This is your great-great-grandfather, Yuda, came over from Poland, Warsaw, and he was afraid, as legend has it, and certainly as sociology would tell us, that anti-Semitism would be, rife here, and he would suffer the consequences. And in some ways he did. So a preemptive move, he went from Baruch, that was his Hebrew name, or that was his name, period, to Benjamin. And he became Benjamin. And it was a way for him to hide. I don't judge my great-grandfather. I can't know, right, the sacrifices he made to come to this world. I can't know the fears that he felt. It's just too easy to judge those who came before us by today's standards or the luxuries and the privilege that we have. So, but I know what I can do. I can honor him. And what I decided was, with all due respect, fuck them. I'm taking our name back. Grandpa, great-grandpa, Baruch. And so I became Baruch. And that was another reason for me taking back the name. And that was powerful because we're talking about chapter 1 in the book. What's your name? And so for me, Baruch is about power. As an aside, that's literally what it means. It's translated as blessing. It means power, right? And that's the origins of it. And I wanted to live my life powerfully, and I didn't want to live in the closet Jewishly. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to lead with it. I'm going to live out loud with it. And I did that. his name was Paragal. That's my family's surname. And it was mangled supposedly at Ellis Island. At some point, it was changed from Paragal to Perlman. And why, nobody really knows. And as we were getting married, Ariel and I, we decided I'm not going to live somebody's confused identity. I'm not going to have the world, whoever that was, assigned the identity to me. We are going to consciously move forward in our Jewish identity with purpose, with power, on our terms. And so we said we're going to choose our last name. My family, my father's line, are Levites in Judaism. There's three sort of classes, if you will: Israelite, Levite, and Kohen. So you've heard the name Cohen, comes from the Kohen, which were the priestly class. The Levites were the caretakers of the priests, and the Israelites were sort of the average Joes. Anyways, I was called to the Torah as Baruch ben Shimon, Baruch, the son of Shimon Halevi. Yehuda, who's on this, is Yehuda ben Baruch ben Shimon Halevi. And so we're Levites. And so we said, why don't we change our last name to Halevi? Because even though it was Perlman, if you go far enough back, it probably was Halevi. And so here we are, Baruch Halevi. I tell you all that because what's in a name, right? William Shakespeare was wrong on this. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by is just as sweet, or something like that. I butchered it. He's wrong, right? Billy Shakes, you were wrong on this one. A name is not nothing. Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism says a name is a blueprint of who we will or won't become. So choose names wisely. My name Jason was chosen, my mom said, because she liked a soap opera character. I don't know if that's exactly true. It didn't matter. I wanted to live life on design. Coming back to this, the guy in the glass, 6 questions to see the man you were meant to be. Chapter 1, what's your name? It's not a pickup line at a bar. Well, it is, but it's also so much more than that. And it's so much more than the cocktail party and the business networking event and the casual introductions at the barbecue. This is who I am. It's not insignificant. We live life in reaction. We live life on autopilot. We live life happening to you, not through you. It's time for us to live life on purpose, our purpose, to be the creator of our destiny. That's what the word authority means, right? Authority, authorship. I want to author my own life, and it starts with what's your name. So in the book, I drop lots of different nuggets from wisdom traditions, a lot of Viktor Frankl, a lot of Kabbalah, and a lot of Torah. It's not a religious book. It's a book for anybody of any faith tradition. I'm a spiritual mutt. I just love wisdom wherever it comes from. I love practice if it works and if it's good. And so, but I do turn to my soil more often than not. And the soil I grow out of is Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. And the Kabbalistic understanding of the name of God is there is no name of God. God is dead. It doesn't exist. Is that blasphemy? God damn it. Am I going to hell? No, it's not a name of God. Show me where God exists in the Hebrew Bible, and I will give you $1 million if you can show me God, because it's written in Hebrew. So in Hebrew, the best you're going to come up with is Elohim, and that's a generic term, and that's one of 72 names, according to the mystics, of the name of God. God doesn't have a name, right? God is not a finite name tag. God is not a proper noun. Nouns are static. How can infinite be contained in the finite? We have reduced God to a silly little name tag. I am God. God damn it, you're in trouble. As I say in the book, say God damn it all you want, and you're not going to the principal's office. Right? You might be going to the principal's office. You're not going to hell, or at least not for that. God doesn't have a name. God has names. The names of God, according to Kabbalah, 72 of them, whether there's 72, doesn't matter. They're experiences of divinity, of the oneness, of source, of universe, one song, universe. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's one. But in this world of 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and division and fraction and brokenness, we got to navigate the best we can. We got to communicate. We need language. And so what's the name of God? Again, there are not one, there's many, but the definitive name is when Moses is taking on the job of leading the Israelites, very much not wanting the job, probably the worst job interview in history, right? Don't choose me, don't take me, I can't speak, and so forth. Nonetheless, he gets the job, lead these people out of the land of Egypt to the land of Israel, Passover today, the end of Passover. And Moses says the pickup line. It's crazy. It's a pickup line in a bar, and Moses uses it for God. What's your name? What should I tell the people to call you? And what is God's response? Call me Bob. Call me Al. Right? Name that tune. Call me Al. What is God's response? Ehyeh asher ehyeh. Often translated as I am that I am, which sounds more like Popeye. I am that I am. Literally, it's I will be that I will be. The name of God is a verb. Then it makes sense, right? If you're going to try and quantify God, good luck with that. So we put it into verb form because verbs are process. Verbs are becoming. Verbs are unfolding, right? Verbs are never the same. The name of God is a verb, and so are you, and so am I. The moment we put a label on us, a name tag on us, we reduce ourselves or we reduce another person to, I know who you are. You're a static little being. Do you know what idolatry is? It is not bowing down to totems. That is not idolatry. Here's what idolatry is. It's making the infinite finite. It's making the dynamic static. It's putting people or yourself into a box. That's idolatry. I am afraid, right? That's idolatry. I am afraid. That's all I am. I am stupid. I am worthless. This is idolatry. To reduce another human being, right? This is why racism is so abhorrent, or any ism, right? Sexism or whatever it is, because you're reducing another human being to one little aspect of their identity. Human beings are, in the words of my teacher, Viktor Frankl, the defiant power of the human spirit, unquantifiable. We are the opposite of the finite. We are infinite in process, in movement, as verbs. The name of God is a verb. What was God saying to Moses? You can't pin me down. You can't ever know me. You can be in relationship with me. You can be in process with me. But to think that you know me, just like in a marriage, is the beginning of the end. When you think you know your spouse, you have reduced them to the name tag, to the noun. You must be in relationship with another human being, if it's going to be authentic, as a verb, as a process, as becoming. Then there's magic. Then there's mystery. And it's arrogant. It's so fucking arrogant to think I know who she is. My wife of 27 years, she's constantly baffling me. Sorry, honey, are you watching this? She's constantly keeping me guessing. There's mystery, there's magic, there's eros, there's infinity quantified and explored and experienced, and it's evolving and it's unfolding and it's unchanging. What's your name? When you go to the mirror, the guy or the gal in the glass, do you reduce yourself to the box, to the label, to the title, to the prison? If you do, then you ain't seeing him. You ain't seeing her. What's your name? A pickup line in a bar? An existential conversation between Moses and God? And a daily reckoning between you and your mirror? That's what this is all about. Now, it's easy to say, it's hard to do. It took me years to own my name, Baruch Halevi. It's still something I grapple with, and I don't fully own it. There are aspects of it that I really still wrestle with, again, at Starbucks. But there are other names too that are just as challenging, for better and worse. How about titles? How about professional degrees and titles? I was a rabbi for 20 years in total between schooling and practice. And I decided it was a label, it was a identity that no longer fit me. I didn't identify with it. I struggled with it. I wasn't sure I wanted to wear it. And it was a process of taking it off because I realized no matter how hard I tried, I was becoming the title. I was rabbi, right? Some people are doctors or lawyers or teachers. I see this with people who go into retirement. You've been doing something for long enough. It's no longer what you do, it's who you are. And that is a slippery slope into hell. When you start believing it's who I am, it was for me. I didn't recognize myself. I was saying things I didn't believe. I was doing things I didn't align with. I was the rabbi. There was a puffed up nature to it. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't kind of stave off the projection of other people. Do you know how hard it was for people outside of my immediate family for me to leave being a rabbi? My wife, my mother, they got it because they know me. The further I got out from the circles of who I am, the harder time they tended to have. You can't leave. It's who you are. You'll always be a rabbi. I'll always call you that. And I realized I'm dealing in the realm of mask. I'm dealing in the realm of personality, persona. Persona comes from the Greek persona, mask. I'm wearing a mask. And you know what the definition of hell is? When you start to believe, I am the mask. You start to lose access with the guy underneath the mask. You want to talk about hell? When a man who has worked for 50 years and succeeded, right, and has become known as the lawyer, the judge, the doctor, the businessman, whatever it might be, retires and his phone stops ringing and people stop wanting him or needing him. And he no longer is in his authority, authoring his life. He's no longer in his power. That is a collapse. Men, start developing your identity beyond just what you do. Hint, that's chapter 2. Or spoiler alert, that's chapter 2. We won't get there right now. But when all we are is the mask of our profession, and then we're no longer our profession, that is a slippery slope into hell. Of losing yourself, of losing your purpose. Your purpose, men and women, is never one thing. Each of these names are parts of who we are. They're pieces of who we are, but they aren't you. And that's what this is about. Going to the guy in the glass and seeing that man, that woman beneath the persona, beneath the mask, beneath the personality, beneath the identity. We need names. We do. If you ever go out with somebody and you don't know their name, or you're with somebody and you should know their name, but you don't, and you've passed the point of return where you can actually ask them their name. It is one of the most uncomfortable things in our society when you screw up somebody's name, you use the wrong name. Has that happened to you? I did a funeral when I was a rabbi and I called somebody by the wrong name, and you would have thought like I killed them twice. There was like nothing I could do to recover, no matter how much I apologized. Why? It's just a name. Hey folks, what's in a name? Bob, Ben, same thing. He's dead. A name is not nothing. A name becomes something, and we got to really take the names seriously. As an example I use in the book is, you don't think names are real and important, right? Why is it one of the primary things people call out at the moment of orgasm? The other person's name. And I say this in the book. If you don't think that's true, try calling out your ex-wife's name in the moment of climax, or an ex-girlfriend or an ex-husband, right? See how that goes over. I'm sure that'll go well. Send me an email. I want to follow up on that one. Names are not nothing. Names are something. They become a blueprint, according to Kabbalah, of to who we will and won't become. And so really thinking about what's your name. It took me years, about 10 years, to really stop being Rabbi B, my stage name, my persona. I don't care if you call me that. I've worked through it. It took me a good decade to really leave it behind. I left, the profession 10 years ago, 12 years ago at this point, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago, decade later, that I finally left it behind. I don't regret it. I love it. It served a purpose. I like to think I contributed something worthy. And it was time for me to wear a new set of shoes, a new set of clothes, a new identity. But that's the point. We are works in progress. We are evolving. We are not one thing. This is why it is so hard at the midlife crossroads and so exciting, because you start to be able to see, I am many things to many people, and I am many masks in my own mind, and many identities in my own life, and many roles, and each one of these is important to me. And if it's not important, or if it's not good, then we leave it behind. The midlife crossroads is an invitation to say, but I don't want to be fill in the blank. I don't want to be married. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a whatever it is that thing is, that I've been doing it for so long. And I told myself, but I can't do anything else, right? It's who I am. It's not who you are. Ehiyeh, asher, ehiyeh. I will be that I will be. And that's the point. And that's the work. What's your name? Chapter 1, The Guy in the Glass, 6 questions, 6 pickup lines to see the man you were meant to be. Takes place in a bar. A guy who has those pickup lines turned around on him. And for the first time in his life, he's not going wide, he's going deep. He's going to answer these questions, and he's going to have to dig and do a lot of work to find the true man, the true guy in the glass. So that's what this is all about. That's why I wrote this book, to help men get underneath the surface, to help women understand their men and help them get underneath the surface, to take back our power, to author our lives, to have true authority. The men that I coach, the men that I counsel, the men that I guide come to me oftentimes, not always, but mostly midlife onwards, saying, I can't do it anymore. I can't live by their expectations, their rules, their goals. That might be my wife, that might be my parents, that might be my stakeholders, my stockholders, society. It's liberating. It doesn't have to be a midlife crisis in the sense of mayhem. It can be crisis, the Greek word choice. Men at the midlife crossroads, you can step into your power to choose your response, to choose your way back to the guy in the glass, the true you, the real you. It begins in chapter 1. What's your name? You don't have a name. You have names. Each one is a piece of you, a part of you, but it is not you. You are not one thing. You are many things. You are one soul expressed in infinite amount of means, mediums, and pathways. But that's not who you are. You are one. You are, Viktor Frankl says, the divine power of the human spirit. You are the true you, the guy in the glass. And so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to do one live for each chapter. Stay tuned for chapter 2. What do you do? Check out guyintheglass.com and you can get the book. I'm almost done with the audiobook, and that will be free. There's a QR code in here that you can get to a complimentary workbook. You can get to the audiobook once it's out and more materials. One last piece of this book is my why. It's what I do. I live to help men discover their why, their purpose, the true version of them, the guy in the glass. How do I do that? One-on-one work, although I'm doing less of it and taking on less and less therapy, counseling, coaching clients. I will still do that for the right men, but tend to be getting them to the right places if it's not me. And my real passion is men's peer groups, men's group work, get into one-on-one coaching, get into a men's peer group. Jump over to menspeergroup.com, because for men to learn how to share their true name with other men, it is transformative in a way I have never seen before. So there's one-on-one work, there's men's peer groups, there's men's journeys, plant medicine-based journeys as legal here in the state of Colorado using psilocybin, is a tremendous way, done right, with the right intention, the right preparation, the right integration, transformative way to get rid of the mask and see the true man who's underneath it. Total aside, I did this when I was writing the book. I thought, you know what? I want to embody this work. And so I don't have this as an assignment because that would be irresponsible. But for me, I went up to the woods and I took a mirror and I took psilocybin and I spent 6 hours talking to myself in the mirror. Sounds crazy. Might even have the DEA show up at my house now. But we are who we are. We do what we do. And I'm proud of it. Did a lot of work to get underneath the surface. Who are you? Beyond the persona, beyond the roles, beyond the labels, beyond the names. Who are you? That's the first question on this journey as men, as women, as human beings. We must ask ourselves to challenge the assumptions, to get out of the, automatic pilot responses that we just rattle off. The next time somebody says, "What's your name?" I want you to stop and think about it. And maybe you still say it's Joe, it's John, it's Jim, or maybe, but even if you do, there's a greater intention and awareness behind it. Or maybe you offer a different name. I'm not saying lie. I'm just saying you've got lots of names. Choose a different name, or get into the question of, well, what is the name you're looking for? Let me tell you about some of my names, right? It can open up the door to a very meaningful conversation. Take this to your kids. Take this to your partner. What's your name? Do some journaling on it. What's my name? Write down every name that you can come up with in a tremendous workbook activity. And you can get it in the workbook inside the website, to do some work, some real self-reflection, some mirror work, as I call it. What's your name? Jump over to Guy in the Glass, watch other videos at bhalevi.com, buy the book, Guy in the Glass, 6 questions to see the man you were meant to be. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you for tuning in.